about you. Everything about you.
Welcome to Stories at the Market. My name is Jeanette Waddell, and I'm going to share a story with our theme this month, and our theme is Milledgeville Memories. My story is called Milledgeville, a place of family and dreams. I just want you to know I'm from Hancock County, and that is where my heart is. But having grown up in Hancock County, Milledgeville was always there, beckoning as the big city. It wasn't often as a kid that we made a trip to Milledgeville, but when we did, it really was an occasion. That meant hair had to be combed, Vaseline for the face and the legs, making sure our shoes were clean, socks were clean, and the best of our school clothes. Now, as a kid, thinking about going to Milledgeville, the one place I wanted to go was Rose's, because Rose's was penny candy heaven. And for a nickel or a dime, I could have enough penny candy to last me for a month. Now, my younger brother and sister, they would eat theirs up in the next 2 or 3 days. But I would always have candy for a month, and every once in a while, I would be so inclined to share a little bit with them. So with that in mind, I moved away, and so did the rest of my brothers and sisters. And to really understand how important Milledgeville as a place is to us as a family, you'd have to understand something about our family. Now, my mom is from a really big family. There were 12 of them. 10 left the South and moved all the way from Ohio to California. So I really only grew up with one aunt, even though there were 10 aunts and uncles scattered all over the United States. And there are 9 in my family. And when my older brothers and sisters grew up, they followed their aunts and uncles. And so we found ourselves scattered all over the United States. I had a sister in Florida, a sister that lived in Augusta, Georgia. I and another sister lived in Atlanta. I had a brother and sister in Cincinnati, and 2 sisters in Detroit. And so getting together was really hard. And I can only remember one time that all 9 of us were actually in the same place at the same time. And it was always a dream as other people celebrated birthdays and anniversaries and all of these other things on a really regular basis. I really wished we would be able to do that. But all of us living so far apart, it really was hard to do. But what really is constant is change. Now, my younger brother started working at Central State Hospital here in Milledgeville, bought a home, and raised his family in Milledgeville. And then when one of my older sisters decided to retire, she decided she would move back to our hometown of Devereaux in Hancock County. Well, you know, they say that you really cannot take the country out of a country person. Well, somewhere along the line, my sister forgot that she was from the country. Because when she moved back, she complained about it being dark. Well, you're in the country and there are no lights. She complained about the bugs. Well, you're in the country and there are all kinds of bugs. And let's not even talk about the snakes. So she decided to move to Milledgeville. Now I have a brother and sister living in Milledgeville. And a few years later, my husband and I decided that we would also move to Milledgeville. And for the first time in my life, all my brothers and sisters were in the same state. 3 of us living in the same place, something that had never happened in my adult lifetime. and a sister that lived 2 hours away in Atlanta. And so I began to get to know my sister Mary. She's 10 years older than I am. And my memories of her is just of her as this really glamorous person that I saw come and going, but never really got to know, never really spent much time with her. And so when she moved to Milledgeville and we were all here together, my brother, my sister, and I, we only lived 10 minutes apart, even though we lived on 3 different sides of town. It was just really wonderful. She was such a great supporter of mine. All of my storytelling events, she was there. We were able to celebrate birthdays together. We decided, a group of us, that we'd go to Washington, D.C. to see my niece get a master's degree from George Washington University. And we decided to take the megabus. Well, that was really a trip from hell. A 12-hour trip took 24. But we would not miss it because it was so wonderful for all of us to be there, to be together, and to support my niece. We went to graduations, we celebrated anniversaries, we celebrated birthdays. We had 2 family reunions, one at Hard Labor Creek, and we carpooled to Cincinnati for another one. And being able to go together, to being able to ride together, to laugh together, and sometimes even to cry together was the most amazing thing. And I discovered this most wonderful person that I had never known before. When I had a problem, I know that I could knock on her door at any time. I also knew that when she was tired of me, she'd say, "It's time for you to go home. You have a husband." And my sister's a professional cook, a professional chef, and a really wonderful cook. And I learned so much about cooking from her. So one Christmas, she asked if I would make a blueberry pie. Well, I do like to cook, but I don't like making pies. But for her, I thought I would do it. I would never do it again. I didn't realize you could use so much butter in one recipe. I didn't realize you needed so much sugar and so many blueberries. But I made the pie, and she gave me the greatest compliment of all. She said it was good. And one Thanksgiving, I actually made the dinner. I cooked the turkey and I made the dressing, and she told me it was so good she didn't have any left to freeze. And that was the ultimate compliment. I'm sitting in a garden. My sister loved plants. Now inside, remember, she doesn't like bugs, she doesn't like snakes, but inside, and her plants were so healthy, they almost looked like they were plastic. That gave her such great joy. We spent many days watching the Food Network and the Shopping Channel, and just remembering growing up and talking about our family and looking through her photo albums. When I walked in her home, there was no doubt what mattered most to her. She loved God. There were crosses and angels and Bible verses all over the place. And she loved us because her whole wall was covered with every picture we had ever sent her. There are 19 nieces and nephews, and every event in their life she had preserved in all of these photo albums that she had collected. Spending time with my sister Mary, getting to know her, celebrating the graduations of my nieces, watching my great nephew grow, has really meant the world to me. And unless your family has been spread all over the United States like mine, it can be something that is easily taken for granted. But I understand how important it has been for us to be able to spend that time together. And Milledgeville has given us that space. And for me personally, as a storyteller, it's also given me some professional accomplishments that I thought about and worked on and planned for quite a while. I wanted to do a one-person show, and I got an opportunity to not do one, but 2. one for Georgia College during Black History Month, and that show was called The Preacher, Teacher, and White Oak Basket Maker. It was a story about three prominent African Americans in Baldwin County: Wilkes Flagg, Sally Ellis Davis, and Joe Dennis. And the other show was called The Literary Divas, and I did that one at the Old Capitol Museum. Started out with Phyllis Wheatley, Zora Neale Hurston, and our neighboring Pulitzer Prize winner, Alice Walker. And the thing that I am most proud is to be able to give other people an opportunity to share their stories. And it was in Milledgeville, collaborating with Allied Arts and our local radio station, our local, with Daniel McDonald, WRGC. They gave me that opportunity to invite other people from Milledgeville and around to come and share their stories. Our stories make us who we are. Our stories make us human. Our stories also connect us. And so I am thankful for Milledgeville, for bringing my family together and also helping me realize some of my professional dreams. Thank you so much for listening.